Welcome to War of the Weirds, a war between friends where the stranger the discovery, the greater chance of victory. After a series of smaller skirmishes, the two warring factions gather large forces and face off in this week's battle. Yvette Henley versus Elmer Mccurdy, with special guest CwissyG.
Hello and welcome to War of the Weirds. I'm Broomy.
And I'm Mystic.
And we're here to tell one another and our beautiful audience, God, you're looking good. We're here to tell you strange tales to one another, kind of trying to beat one another with the stranger tale. And who is going to decide who wins, who beats the other by telling the stranger tale? Or story. Sorry I sing tale too much. But it's streamer, wonderful fellow, a fan of Star Wars. I just saw his icon. It's just like...
Can you guess who it is?
It's CwissyG!
Woo!
Hello. Glad to be here. Longtime fan, first time host, or not host, judge.
No, yeah, you're hosting this.
I'm like,
really?
yeah, no,
Really
I'm really
promoting
taking over.
yourself.
This is my opportunity to
He's
slip
like,
in,
this is
take
my
over.
podcast now.
Yeah.
It's a coup. Talk about battles. This war, we got a coup.
So, Quissy, I pretended to be a broom for a year. Mystic is a circus freak.
Woo.
Doesn't wear shoes.
Yeah.
What is weird about you? Before we get into our strange tales,
You know,
we are a couple weird men. What is weird about you?
I knew you were gonna ask this because I heard the last podcast and you asked Nikki the same thing, and I tried to think of like what is weird about me. And I honestly, like, I don't think anyone can really choose what's weird about them, like, off the cuff. Like,
Yeah.
because it takes, like, a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
But I guess the weirdest thing I do lately is that I will fall asleep to Bob Ross's The Joy of Painting. Like,
Ooh,
that's my
right.
lullaby.
Yeah.
That's what's weird about
That's
me.
a good one. That's good.
Yeah, it's a solid one.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that with like ASMR stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, yeah, it kind of takes like somebody else, a third party, to say what's weird about you. But like that's kind of risky because that just like turns into a roast real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did call you a circus freak like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
What's
I'm
quite
gonna write
weird?
my own intros after this. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Can I real quick? I just want
what?
to. Broomy hears me all the time, and like Quissy. I mean, you listen to the podcast, so you hear me. But I feel like when I started streaming and started doing this podcast, I had like a talk normally. But I feel like lately, my accent has really kind of come out. Do you agree with this, or what do you think? I'm fascinated by the concept of accents.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe like a little bit. I've noticed it on certain words.
Yeah.
But I don't I'm not like, well, this guy's a hillbilly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go
honestly,
back to the hills.
I haven't heard any change in it. If there's any change, it's not so much an accent. It's more of a like your kind of showbiz voice, like your radio voice is definitely more, present. Like, because I don't.
Greetings and welcome to War of the Weirds. I could do like an NPR thing, like, and today's topic is.
I mean, that's kind of what you do. Your voice is straight up NPR.
Yeah.
It's like cream to the ears. Ear cream.
I I like most things cream, but I don't think I like ear cream.
Give it a shot.
I mean, I'll try anything once. Speaking of weird things, I don't know if you remember, but last week I made a vow, or last episode. Do you recall what this vow was?
That you would not be telling poopy or pee-pee related weird stories for a few weeks or something.
Yeah, I think I said 6 weeks or 6 episodes or something. Well, I'm breaking that today.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
No, okay. No, listen.
Wow.
Let me explain. It's not my main story, but I did hear this, and it's relevant to today. Like, this news article came out yesterday, and I feel like this is something worth mentioning. So, this is, like I said, this is not my story, but so you cannot let this bias you. Strike this from the record.
Okay, absolutely. Not listening whatsoever.
Do y'all know who Bryce Hall is?
No.
It sounds familiar.
He is a TikToker. Do you call them? Are they TikTokers?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Okay, yeah, he's a TikToker. He's like 18 years
Ticker
old.
talks.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I prefer
Tic
ticker
Tacs.
talks.
Yeah, just talking them
Yeah.
ticks.
Yeah. And he's a member of the Sway House, which I always thought like Sway House and Hype House and those things were just like communities, like teams. But turns out they live in an actual house.
Sure.
And so he lives in the Sway House, and he had a birthday party recently. He'd come under fire. He lives in LA. This house is like, there's huge mansions where TikTokers that live there, and they're like teenagers, and they make millions of dollars each. And they've been having big parties. And I don't know if you guys know this, but we're in the middle of a pandemic.
What?
Yeah,
I haven't
I know.
heard
This
I
is-
actually think I've
I
heard
know.
about this. Yeah.
This is like on the deep web. Like, Quissy's in the know. He's cool.
Yeah.
But
There's a
so
deep
like,
web pandemic going on.
Yeah.
That's the scariest of all.
yeah, it's but so the mayor was like, all right, you got to stop doing this. We wrote like citations and stuff to people in the house, whatever. Well, this past weekend he had his 18th birthday, and he had 200 people at his party. And so the mayor cut power to his utilities, like cut utilities to his house, and was like, all right, this is what you get. You don't have power and running water in your house anymore because you cannot follow the law. This is what you get. And I love that. I think it's great.
I'm picturing a scene where like somebody calls the mayor on the phone, and it's very dramatic.
It's like a red phone.
And then he's like, all right, get me electric on the line. Okay.
We're cutting power to the Sway House, and the
Water
mayor
and
has
gas,
to
get me them on the line.
the
Okay.
mayor the mayor has to explain to like his meeting, all these people like in the like mayor office in suits around the table. He's like, all right, well, let's show some of his videos. They like pull his TikTok videos up on the board. He's like dancing. He's like, all right, so this 18-year-old boy that I'm watching dance, we're gonna cut power to his house. They're like, what is going on?
Stop bopping your head to Kesha.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, did you comment on this? Like, no. But the thing about bodily fluids is last year he had to issue an apology video because he peed off of his balcony onto some fans.
Oh my god.
What?
So okay,
Why?
this is
Why
kind of
did
like
that
the
happen?
situation with the Pauls, right? Like they have
Right.
this house.
Yeah. The Logan Paul and Jake Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
they
don't think
take
they
over the
peed.
street, and all their fans come, and neighbors hate
Yeah.
them, and
They're horrible.
Right. Yeah.
I hate
they're
them,
horrible.
But,
Yeah.
but I don't think they peed on their fans.
No,
I
yeah.
just find that a very
no,
odd.
they just went to Japan and showed a dead
Yeah.
guy. So
Yeah, pretty
yeah.
cool. Pretty
Well,
Tomato,
one of them,
tomato,
One
right?
of them's a boxer, right? One of them does like MMA
well,
fighting or
yeah.
something.
They do novelty boxing and shit.
it's like YouTuber versus YouTuber, and like it's all
Oh,
fixed
yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Well, I know he posted this tweet or something that was like $10,000 to any influencer that can beat me, and I was like, man, I would love to have somebody just like go in there and knock him out, just deck
I
him.
thought you were gonna volunteer. Look, I'm a pretty big influencer.
Oh, I'm not an influencer. All right, guys, listen, get me to be an influencer so I can go beat up Jake or Logan Paul, one of the two. What if I fight the wrong one? I just like find him on the street, start like beating him up. He has no idea why he's fighting. That's just called mugging.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's fine.
assault. Yeah.
yeah, that's just yeah.
No, of course.
Hey, at least I didn't pee on him. So
Yeah, that's great. That's
So I hope-
That's the
I
silver
hope
that's
lining.
my-
any interaction. At least I didn't pee on him. I mean, I killed him.
When that makes the
and-
situation better, then,
when,
you know.
when you're in front of the judge, like, I understand I committed
Your Honor.
murder, but at least I didn't pee on him.
So, like, you
I
gotta
could
give me
have done
that.
anything.
And he's like, what?
And I did not pee
Yeah.
on him.
I think the mayor would be on my side. I'd get the mayor. He like, hey. Yeah,
He's
so
on
like,
the phone. Get the pee, baby.
Yeah. Presidential pardon. Yeah, so that's not my story, and that's like, you know, I feel like that's I feel like I can get away with that, telling that though, because that's relevant and like it's happening, and like he's a very popular person in like today's culture.
I mean,
I'm not just like
also,
telling some obscure
it's your
urine
podcast,
thing.
so
Yeah,
you can
that's
get away
true.
with it.
Yeah.
I can make rules. But after that, like no more. All right. So my topic today, is pretty brief. This was kind of like this is kind of I have a list of like topics, and just each, you know, every time I'm gonna write, I kind of go through and review them and add things to it, delete things from it. But I had one in mind for a couple of weeks now. And when I started looking into it more and started researching it, it's a lot of information, and it's kind of heavy and dark, especially because it's like about society. And things are not going great in the world right now. So I was like, I can't do all this right now. And I needed to invest more time in writing this and getting it coherent. So I ended up going kind of last minute, writing this one out. But I think this is very interesting. It's very cool. It's a cool, lighter note. Yeah, so this is here we go. This happened in 2017. Yvette Henley was a 4-year-old girl who lived with her father, Virgil Henley. And Virgil Henley was emotionally abusive. And so the little girl Yvette, her grandparents took her dad to court. I think it's her mom's parents. Took him to court, and the judge ruled that he was an unfit father and granted custody to the grandparents. Well, after this ruling, Virgil kidnapped his daughter and fled with her, so he wouldn't have to give her up. And so he disappeared along with his girlfriend, and then Yvette, of course. So the police investigated this for 3 weeks.
So far, not that cool story.
Yeah. So, you know how it's like, this is a feel-good story? No. So Gary and Kim were the grandparents, and they got the police involved. And after weeks of investigating, 3 weeks, there was no leads. They had nothing. And I got to pull up the message here. So, they reached out. Gary just had heard about like Facebook and social media being able to help find missing persons, because you can make things go viral and have their pictures posted and stuff like that. And so he was like, all right, I'm going to turn to Facebook to help, like, see if I can find any help. So he reached out to Virgil's Facebook friends, and he just messaged all of them, just going through his friends list. And he happened to message someone named Harry Brown. So I'll read you the message. This is the screenshot that I'm reading of the message that Gary Forrester sent to Harry Brown.
Hey, I thought you weren't going to talk about poop. Now you're going to bring up Harry Brown?
Hey, you did it, not me. I made you say it. Ooh, that's actually interesting. Hey, this is foreshadowing for a future topic. That I made Broomy say it, and I didn't say it myself. Ooh, this is for meta listening. This is an Easter egg. All right.
Okay.
So the message
Easter
is...
egg that neither of us can appreciate at this
you
moment.
won't get until, I don't know, whenever I decide to use this topic. But, all right,
Sure.
so this is Gary Forrester sent this to Harry Brown. Hello, my name is Gary Forrester. I see you are friends on Facebook with a Mark Johnson, who happens to be Virgil Lamar Henley and is the father of my 4-year-old granddaughter, Yvette. Right now, my wife and I have been given custody of Yvette, and the FBI Child Abduction Task Force is looking for her. If you can help me in any way get a confirmed location of my granddaughter Yvette, I have a $2,000 cash award for information that leads to her safe return. Please message me back or call me, include his phone number, it's been blurred out, to help my granddaughter. She is in a very dire situation. Here's a picture of my granddaughter, Yvette, and send a picture of her. And Harry Brown said, that's awful. I'll do my best to help. It's best not to, Gary had sent Harry a friend request. And Harry said, it's best not to add your friend request just in case Mark gets suspicious and blocks me. And Gary said, oh, yeah, that's right. Go ahead. So, a little bit about Harry. Harry Brown did not really know Virgil, but they became Facebook friends because they gamed together a few years prior to all this. He's 21 years old and lived in Staines in the UK and works at a supermarket. But he was moved by this plea, and so he sprung to work and reached out to Virgil and reignited their friendship. So, based on the messages, there was a flirty tone, and the two became pretty close. Based off of Harry's Facebook photos and the news articles, it's implied that Virgil believed that Harry was a woman, based on his appearance, which is not that of traditional masculinity. I'll give a shout out, I guess, to his Instagram. His Instagram handle is It's Harry Brown. Uses he/him pronouns, but wears full makeup, has long blonde hair, and wears clothing that is traditionally found in women's sections.
But his name on Facebook is Harry Brown.
Correct.
All right.
But if you look at social media,
all right, Virgil.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Virgil. I don't know. Maybe Virgil knew him from before. Knew him from before all this. I don't know what kind of relationship they had when they gamed together.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of the screenshot, and some other news articles, like I said, imply that things kind of got a little flirty. Even though Virgil was with his girlfriend, but I guess he also kidnapped his daughter, so cheating is not the worst thing in this situation.
Yeah, very true, very true.
Not exactly.
Yeah. And I want to be clear that I'm not, I'm being sensitive about Harry's gender identity and presentation and stuff, but it is important to the story that it was sort of like a flirtatious relationship.
Yeah.
So Virgil began to open up to Harry about his daughter and his girlfriend, and said that he was staying at hotels in Arizona. And so, remember, Harry is in the UK. So this is happening 5,000 miles away. And the next day, Virgil told Harry that he wasn't feeling well, and he's had some kidney problems and stuff like that. But his wife was hungry, or his girlfriend, it was his girlfriend, but he called her his wife. And Harry was like, oh, well, I can send you some pizza. And Virgil was like, oh, that sounds great. Here's where I'm staying, and here's my room number. And so Harry immediately contacted the police and Gary Forrester. And within a few minutes, the police rang his doorbell. He goes to the door expecting pizza. Delivery, it's your arrest. And the police arrested him and retrieved the daughter, Yvette, with no problems. She was taken back to her grandparents, who were overjoyed, and they told Harry that he had a permanent offer as a guest of honor in their home. So the police spent weeks looking for Yvette without any success, and Harry Brown kind of catfished him and managed to get her exact location in 2 days.
So the local police couldn't find them, but a person...
Well, they had fled. Yeah, they were combing the area and stuff, and they had been hiding out in hotels. Yeah.
But someone in the UK, thousands of miles away, just a few messages, boom, we got them.
Yeah. 2 days. Somebody 5,000 miles away.
The local police are following a standard operating procedure, probably.
Yeah. They're probably waiting for any kind of credit card thing. Yeah.
Oh, right. Some kind of paper trail.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going door to door. Yeah.
Well, so what I'm wondering,
like
though,
I said, it's pretty brief, but
it's I enjoy that story. What I'm wondering, though, if the cops, came to the door and he was expecting pizza, did the cops at least get a good tip?
I would like to know how that arrest went.
The tip was,
like,
don't arrest me.
I mean, did they? You're like, you're not. I'm waiting for pizza. You can't. Can I wait till the pizza gets here? And the guy's like, no, there's no pizza coming. He's like, no, yeah, my friend ordered me pizza. He's like, no, we're the pizza. We're the delivery.
My friend wouldn't do that.
He's like, my friend that I have known for 2 days, I'm a criminal on the run, a fugitive from the law, and I gave up my location to this beautiful person in 2 days for a pizza. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Real smarty, that Virgil.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good on Harry though. And actually, if you go to go to his Instagram, it's his bio says like, I once saved a little girl with pizza. True story. Because this was in 2017. But yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How wholesome. So it's like internet sleuthing has become pretty crazy. There was a serial killer that was caught, and they had like a bunch of victims that they like found the bodies like spread over years in the same, like he had crammed them in barrels and left them around, and they couldn't identify some of the people. Like they found them, but they couldn't find any connection to anybody. There weren't any system. And there's actually a whole group of online sleuths that use like genetic, like forensics, like genome stuff, and that actually just like use the information available, and they plug them into like ancestry.com and things like that. And because they're like, the police like can access their own DNA data bank, but it's like available publicly for some of these other places. And there's a big controversy right now about like if the DNA like 23andMe or whatever like that, if that should be automatically available to police or FBI or law enforcement, or if that's like private information or whatever. But like, anyways, there's a lot of just amateur sleuths put together like and solve this crime that happened over like 20 years. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, there's also that Netflix documentary.
I was just thinking that, yeah,
or whatever.
What's that?
Is it like Don't Fuck with the Cats? Is that
I believe.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I did hear of that.
Yeah,
it's I mean, it's a good documentary. It's a hard watch, like if you're very squeamish.
I really enjoyed it. I will right now say the one thing I hated was the very end. It's not really a spoiler because it's not about the story itself.
Oh God, yeah.
At the very end, one of the main women talking into the camera describing the situation is like, because it's like a guy that was tracked down by online people, but he loved the attention. So she's like, but he wanted the attention. He wanted me to track him down. So am I complicit in this? And then she like points at the camera and she's like, but what about you? You watched the whole documentary about it. Are you complicit in this? It's like, what the fuck? You made the documentary?
You're like, what are you...
And now I'm the asshole for watching your documentary?
Arrest millions of people that watch this. Just overcrowding's not an issue anyways. Just we're all going to prison. Like,
just somehow the cops are able to tell when you finish the documentary, and at that exact moment you get a knock on the door. Yeah.
Like, instead of credits, it's just like your location is now being sent to the CIA. You're like, oh, what? Yeah. Like, helicopters like start coming in, spotlights in the house. Yeah. But it's crazy that there's a whole, and actually I want to, maybe I'll go into this on something later, or like, maybe I'll go into the story for like a casualty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
just the thing like, that we do.
Yeah, the thing that we do that I can't remember the name of. But yeah, it's just like online, just how there's forums and like subreddits and all kinds of things for people that do this and collaborate together and like exchange information to help solve crimes.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
That are very effective. Yeah,
a lot of police departments actually almost rely on online groups like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if crime is happening online and a local police department doesn't have like the people in place that have the expertise, then
are you saying that local police should have like teenagers on salary that are just on social media looking for like?
I think so.
Yeah. As soon as they turn 20, you kick them off the force.
Yeah,
but
like you're done. I watched an interview actually with a guy, and he's a professional like meme. He's like a meme expert or something. Like that's his job title. I mean, he's not. He doesn't work for law enforcement. But I was like, how bizarre is this? That this is a title in like 2020.
I mean, it isn't considering how big memes are for our culture.
True. Yeah, but he was called on for some like news thing to like explain this meme and the history of it. And he's like, well, it's culturally relevant because blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it's crazy that like culture is so, people can be so like out of touch with culture, or that culture is so niche in some regard that like, yeah.
You see, it's an owl and it looks like it's asking, oh, really?
Right.
And you can see in its eyes.
It's a nuanced photo, but yeah, it's, what a world we live in. Oh, okay. Real quick question for you two, and then we'll move to the next story. But I was talking to somebody today, and he talked about how there's a school that was like built when he was a kid, and like 10 years ago it was demolished, and he went and like it was rebuilt. Like the old school was demolished, and like they rebuilt everything. And he was like, "Hey, there was a time capsule under this flagpole," and the guy was like, "Oh, we didn't know about it, so it was just demolished along with the building." But it got me thinking. What would go in a time capsule for 2020? I don't even know what standard time capsule things are. Let's see, like top 10. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do a top 10 things to put in a time capsule. What would you all think?
I would just take a shit in a box and bury it.
Then it'll be a real long fermented jinkum.
Yeah. Give somebody a treat. Hallucinogenic treat later on.
Yeah, they open it up and just like start tripping.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Have a person with coronavirus cough into a tissue.
That's exactly what I was kind of thinking. Of like a sample of coronavirus that just gets released in however many years until the box is open. It's like, damn it, we were over this.
I can hardly think of like cultural moments that aren't like Donald Trump or coronavirus related.
Yeah.
You know? Like I can't think of huge cultural things of 2020.
I mean, off the top of my head, I could think like obviously a face mask. You put that in there because that's been the whole issue of 2020.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, whether or not wearing a face mask, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, put piece of shit and a face mask.
A face mask. It's just like, this is what this year was like. So it says, here's a couple things. I won't go all of them because there's like hundreds. I'm just going to read like top couple. Like a newspaper, a videotape of nightly news.
Wait, no one reads newspapers anymore.
I know. Yeah, maybe this whole list came from a time capsule.
Yeah.
Like any major headlines, some popular expressions, like a top hits of the year CD, like wow, or now that's what I call 2020s music, like WAP would be in there. Some like a
there's
popular
been
toy.
Music this year. Yeah. Like there's been actual good music this year.
Like I don't think so.
That isn't based off TikTok.
No, I don't think so. I think it's all TikTok music.
There probably has been. It's just not the pop music.
Yeah. This one was good. A copy of like a future-oriented magazine, or like here's like a prediction of what the future will be like. I think that's pretty cool. Like, because it's fun, like, look at the Jetsons and be like...
Apocalypse Weekly. Just put that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we thought the world ended this year, so... and then another one was like, I thought this was dumb, but it says the exterior of a gas station, including the price board. And I was like, that's... I mean, because gas stations do change.
Put the whole exterior into the box?
Yeah.
It's just gonna...
Also, how long is this time capsule for? I mean, we're gonna have records of shit. I don't know.
I heard that in 50 years, gas cars will be obsolete. That like everybody will have electric cars.
I honestly think that's a good idea. I mean, as far as carbon emissions. Like,
yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
but there's no way it's ever gonna be universal. Like,
yeah. Well, they would have to be, you wouldn't be able to, like, you can't, like, legislate people to buy them, but I think car companies will eventually just, like, move away from gas. Like, they'll all be hybrid, and then they'll all just be electric.
Yeah, well, the money is going to move there, and that's where they'll go.
Yeah.
So,
I can just already imagine, like, the redneck electric cars that are all souped up high on huge tires.
Harley Davidson made their first electric motorcycle. And it looked pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Redneck electric cars have built-in, like, hairspray that sprays.
So you can, like, Well, we gotta have that muffler loud, you know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before we get into my story, my very strange tale, we're gonna cut to an ad break, and we'll be right back with my strange tale and CwissyG's decision on which story was weird.
This episode of War of the Weirds is brought to you by Banana Peel. Surely you enjoy the phallic delight of a banana and would hate the touch of its mushy fruit flesh before it enters your mouth. Well, that's where our sponsor comes in, Banana Peel. Protecting your fingers from the horror of mushy touching. Leave it on the ground. It's biodegradable, and surely you won't slip on it. Banana Peel. Just call 555-PEEL-ME-BABY. That's 555-PEEL-ME-BABY. Now, back to the show.
And we're back. Before I get into my story, I just wanted to... During the break, I was thinking about... I just found it funny that you were like, you know, this is a pretty cool story. Okay, so he's emotionally abusing his daughter.
Yeah.
His daughter gets taken away from him, given to the grandparents, but then he kidnaps her, and the cops can't find her. Pretty cool.
And that's the end of the podcast. See you later, guys.
I'm pretty sure you prefaced that story with, it's a heartwarming story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your heart will be warm from the anger you feel.
Yeah. All right, so I've got quite a story. I would say half of it is just quite interesting, and then there's a turn where it gets weird.
I just gotta say, when you were talking about you're gonna talk about your weird tale, I thought you had like some kind of like prehensile thing emerging from your back, and you had like a tail. Like it was like, is it like a lion tail?
It's my life story. And
I'm just gonna talk about my tail.
Turn of my
tail.
Tail. Yeah.
It's very furry and soft.
Yeah.
Which is especially weird because I'm not that furry. So, Elmer Mccurdy. That's the name.
Love it.
Elmer Mccurdy. He's born in Washington, Maine in 1880. So, a while back. Mm-hmm. And, his father was already gone when he was born, and his mother, Sadie Mccurdy, was 17. And since that was a bad look, she felt, for her and her family, she got her brother, George, and his wife, Helen, to care for Elmer as if they were his parents. To everyone, including Elmer, she, from this point on, treated him like he was her nephew.
Okay.
So, you're following.
Yeah.
He thinks that his you'll see. Okay. George and Helen had a child of their own after this.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1890, the father, George, died of tuberculosis. As you did.
Right. This is what you did back in the day.
True. Very true. Sadie moved in to help care for the children. Helen was like, look, George is dead. She did the whole, like, clap hands, put your hands up thing, like, wash your hands. Yeah. Look, George is dead. Elmer, you need to take responsibility. That's what Helen was like. And so Sadie agreed. And at this point, Elmer was like 13 or 14. Helen and Sadie explained the situation that his aunt was his mom, and his mom was his aunt. And in the moment, he didn't seem to have a horrible reaction to that. Like, confused, but didn't seem like it was horrible. But Elmer didn't take this well, because he felt betrayed by both his adoptive and biological mother. And he started drinking heavily. And just generally being a bad boy rebel. So, 1895, he ran away from home. And he goes to live with his grandparents. And by that point, so yeah, that's, he's like 18 or 19 at this point. And his grandfather made him an apprentice at his plumbing company. And he's there for 3 months, but then he decides he's going to move back home with his mother. And he, at this point, accepted her as his mother and was, like, loving and protective of her. But, unfortunately, she got sick and died in 1900.
As you do.
As you do. And then a month later, his grandfather died.
So many deaths. I can't believe how many people die. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, stop.
Stop following the crowd, you know? Be your own person.
Yeah. Lame-o.
So literal, if your friends jump off a bridge, will you jump with them? It's like, if your friend dies of tuberculosis, will you do it?
Like, probably coughed on me.
Probably don't have a choice in that.
So, Elmer really started hitting the bottle after this. More swigs of the brown juices. Nobody calls it that. But, you know, it's like life sucks. Fuck it, I'm reinvesting in, like, drinking. Big fan of this now. And he leaves Maine, which is where this was taking place, and he traveled a lot. He's drinking heavily, he's getting odd jobs, he worked as a miner for a brief period of time.
Oh, nice.
But he'd lose the jobs because he'd come in drunk and not show up, rather, because he was passed out drunk. And, you know, people don't like that. People aren't generally into it. So he ends up in Kansas for a while. And he'd been doing all that, traveling around, getting odd jobs and stuff, for about 7 years. And in 1907, he decides he's going to join the army. Maybe straighten himself out a little. He had heard Teddy Roosevelt had requested men join for the occupation of the Philippines and Cuba. Join the army. So Elmer's like, this is great. I'll get to see the world. I'll be an army man. But by the time he signs up and he was processed, the 13th Infantry that he was joining had returned from the Philippines to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. So he was assigned to the Quartermaster's Department, which is like distributing food and supplies to the base. And he was there for 3 years. Then he was honorably discharged. So you know, not a fun life so far.
Mm-hmm.
Almost immediately after he's honorably discharged from the army, he and his army buddy Walter Shapplerock are like,
names.
"Hey, let's yeah, let's be literal partners in crime." 2 weeks after he was honorably discharged, he was arrested for possession of burglary tools, such as hacksaws, chisels, bombs, and literal sacks of money. So, like, they might have as well have had dollar signs on them. Fucking cartoon burglars. But when Elmer had his day in court, he managed to convince the jury that these weren't burglars' tools. These were plumbers' tools. I'm a plumber.
Of course.
And he was found not guilty. Which is like...
I mean, it's circumstantial evidence, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I agree. They were right. Yeah. Hacksaws and chisels and bombs and sacks of money. All plumber things, I think.
Well, I mean, when you're trying to... When you're trying to put a septic tank in, you really don't want to do the digging. A bomb definitely will do the job for you.
Yeah, I've heard of people blowing up the bathroom, you know?
Yeah.
That's usually when you have to call a plumber, but...
Hey, you know what? You guys are right. I'm sorry. I'll stop the story. But when he was awaiting his trial, he met a guy named Walter Jarrett in jail. And he met up with Jarrett after he was found not guilty, and they assembled a small group. And in March 1911, Elmer Mccurdy, Walter Jarrett, Walter's brother Lee Jarrett, and Abe Connor, they're robbing a train, baby.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge step up. We're in the Old West, and we're doing Old West shit. So they get on board. They're shooting the windows, shooting the ceiling to intimidate the passengers. Rootin' tootin' shooting every which way. So they get to the safe that they were targeting on this train, and it was Elmer's job to blow up the safe because he had some training with explosives when he was in there.
He was a plumber.
He was a plumb man. So he miscalculates a little bit, and he blasts the safe door off the safe and straight through the wall of the train car.
Wow. He
used way too much nitroglycerin.
You're like, I hope this will be enough.
Yeah. And now the safe was insanely hot, and a large majority of the silver they were trying to get inside was melting into the safe. $4,000 worth of silver.
Oh my goodness.
Melted into the safe.
You know they're mad at him.
Sure, absolutely. They try to pry some silver from the safe, but to no avail. And they ended up with $450.
Criminals.
A few days later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, same thing.
Right.
This is the anti-plumber podcast.
Because they had charged
that,
me.
Mario.
So yeah, make a joke about overprice. I don't know.
Yeah. They are charging.
Yes.
But, so a few days later, Elmer Mccurdy got into a knife fight with Lee Jarrett. Jarrett sliced Elmer on the wrist.
Racist.
Billy Brown, another guy that was in their group, sliced him on the head and neck. Lee Jarrett did. And Lee Jarrett slashed his own brother Walter's face. What's going on, Lee Jarrett? What's your thing?
What's the deal here?
But they got arrested on the spot and fined for disorderly conduct. Elmer decides this is a good time to part ways from the group.
Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun getting slashed and stabbed and blowing stuff up. But I'm going to have to retire from this gang.
Yeah. He began to use the alias Frank Curtis. And he skedaddles. When the law found out that Walter Jarrett returned to the area, Walter Jarrett was kind of a known criminal man. They essentially raided his house. They found stolen goods, explosives that matched the ones that were on the scene of the crime, of the train. And under the floor, in a mason jar, they found Elmer Mccurdy's Army discharge papers. 3 of the gang, including Walter, were arrested at the scene, and Lee Jarrett was arrested while he was hiding out in the woods. Lee Jarrett has no chill. But anyway, so Elmer goes on over to Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Formed a new gang. He and 2 other dudes, they're gonna rob a bank, baby.
Nice.
In Chautauqua. What the fuck? There are 3, look, Chautauqua.
Yeah.
Kansas.
Just Kansas. A place in Kansas.
Yeah. They're going to rob a bank there, and on the night of September 21st, they hammer and pickaxe through the wall of the bank, directly into the vault. So, Elmer, he's doing his specialty. He's going to blow off the safe door. And the explosion, again, was too big. It blew off the door. It sent the safe door to the vault door, the front vault door. And it broke the vault door. And the vault door flung into the main area and destroyed a bunch of furniture. But it's the middle of the night. So nobody's there at this point other than them. But there was still an inner door to the safe. I don't know how safes work, so I don't know about outer and inner doors. So he's setting up explosives, and he's about to light the fuse to blow up the inner door. And one of the dudes is like, "Lights are starting to come on over town. Gotta get out of here." So they grab some silver and gold coins that were on a tray on top of the safe, and they get out of there. And what did they get? They got $150.
This guy's got a great track record.
It's working out.
Technically, he went in with less than what he came out with. So
he's keeping it like, you know, like a misdemeanor level. You know, it's not grand larceny or whatever.
In net profit, he's in the green.
Yeah, but how much do these explosives cost? That he is clearly using a lot of.
Yeah, these are $5,000 explosives.
Yeah.
But no. So yeah, not working out too well. A couple weeks later, they decide to rob a train again, but this time they hear it's carrying a huge amount of money. That was a payment to the Osage, or I think it's Osage tribe of Native Americans. Or Osage, I don't know. So, on October 4th at 1 a.m., few hours outside of Okesa, Oklahoma.
Love the names.
The MKNT, which is like a line/brand of train, passenger car number 23, was boarded and held up by Elmer and 2 other dudes. Or that's what they thought. They soon realized that it wasn't car number 23. It was MKNT passenger car number 29. And passenger car number 29 didn't have that much money on it. During the holdup, they knocked in the head of 2 kegs of beer and drank some. Here's a quote from a newspaper regarding this robbery. The Bartlesville Enterprise is the name of the newspaper. On October 6, 1911. The haul made by the robbers was one of the smallest in the history of train robbing. They failed to find as much as a copper cent in the safe in the express car. The express agent opened the door for them and allowed them to look in. So, like, the guy in charge of the safe is just like, here, fucking, what do you want? Take it. I don't give a shit. There's nothing there. So, they ended up with $40 in currency. They grabbed 2 gallons of whiskey that were on the train car. They took a watch from the mail clerk that was worth $25, a coat from the train conductor that was also worth $25, and they took a revolver from the train auditor, and then they got out of there. So
it's starting to sound like it's just decreasing in payout to the point in the next robbery he's actually gonna have to pay someone. Like he's gonna have to give them his money. Yeah.
He's gonna pay to enter a club and then realize that he doesn't have any explosives or whatever. A lot of clubs in the Old West, so that's why I brought that up. Anyway, so
I believe it's saloons,
but this
houses of ill repute.
This time,
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, it's okay. I'm also interrupting you. It's great. But this time, they had a lot of people on their tail. More than 50 officers.
Whoa.
Some of them federal.
That's like almost as many officers as dollars he's made.
Yeah. It's getting there. Elmer Mccurdy ends up at a ranch. Drank with some ranch employees. Asked for a place to sleep. Is the ranch in Oklahoma. And they led him to the barn to sleep. 3 posse members caught up to him. Posse members of, like, the posse looking for them. Caught up to him, took positions around the barn, waited for some daylight. Once the sun started rising, Elmer shot first and yelled, "I won't be taken alive!" And he was right. After a shootout that lasted about an hour, Elmer Mccurdy was shot dead. So, at this point, his body was put in the back of a wagon, brought to Pawhuska, Oklahoma, and the wagon stopped at Johnson Funeral Home. The body was taken out of the back, propped up in a wicker basket, and a photo was taken. Officers identified Elmer Mccurdy, and then the body was turned over to the Undertaker. Now, I'm going to stop right here. The story's not over.
Oh, God.
So, how do you guys feel about what happens to your body after you die?
Oh, just throw me in a ditch or something. I don't care.
You don't care.
Some people really care.
A lot of people,
and I feel like the people's family really
cares.
Like
buried
the people, the family, your family cares. Like
it makes sense
because they don't want to see their body
to be
disrespected.
respectful.
Yeah, this was somebody that was cared for.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely like that with my dad. But for me, I know the cost of like what a funeral costs, what burial and all that costs, and I know that in a certain county next to my county, if you are buried within 24 hours, it's free.
Wow.
Like, buried in like a plywood box, kind of that fast. And I'm like, I could go with that.
Wow, that's weird.
I don't know why that's a thing.
Why is that?
I don't know. Yeah. But, I mean, why not take advantage of it when you're dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, just be like, hey, feel free to be cheap on my funeral. I think I personally would go like cremation. Type thing.
Yeah,
I've heard cremation's actually
out of business.
I've heard it's a little more expensive than actually getting buried.
Or
about the same.
I heard that they keep your body and they give your family just ashes of something else, and then your body is used for science purposes.
Hey, just cremate me and smoke my body on 420, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, bruh.
Get you high on death, y'all. So, to continue the story, the Undertaker removes the bullet from Elmer's body. Tied off some ruptured arteries, and he added arsenic to the usual embalming fluids. And adding arsenic to embalming was regularly used to preserve Egyptian mummies. Not clear on exactly why he did the embalming mummy style.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, gotta keep things interesting for himself. Possibly he thought that he might have this body for a while for whatever reason.
It was an artistic choice.
Yeah.
He took liberty.
Everybody kind of assumed that somebody would quickly claim the body because that's kind of how it is. But after 6 months in the mortuary's back room, Elmer's body was still pristine and nobody came. So, what does the Undertaker do? But he props up Elmer Mccurdy's body, which could still stand, dressed him in the clothes that he was wearing when he died, and put him in the corner of the mortuary. Put a rifle in his hands.
Oh, no.
Free security.
Called him the bandit who wouldn't give up. And he charged local folks a nickel to see him.
This is horrible.
Yeah, but how you probably weren't asking this, but how did he receive those nickels as payment? Well, by getting the customers to drop them into the corpse's open mouth.
Oh my god! What? This? Why has he got it?
So, Broomy, what you're telling me is that he's making more money as a dead body than he was as a robber.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, at a certain point, yes, the Undertaker goes ahead and he collects them later. I guess, he's an Undertaker, so reaching inside a dead guy and grabbing a handful of nickels is a shrug of a thing to do. So
maybe he just liked going in this guy's mouth. He's like, I needed a good reason to reach my hand in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty convoluted reason.
The first thing that went into my mind was basically like a basic piggy bank that has a cork in the belly that he can just pop out and just shake the corpse a little to get all the change out.
He could install like a pipe. Yeah, just like run it through.
I mean, all great ideas. Unfortunately, until we make that time machine that we've been talking about,
that's right.
It's not gonna happen. So nobody showed up to get his body. No next of kin. Nobody. And the Undertaker kept him around. Continued to use him as like a sideshow in the mortuary. People putting nickels in his dead ass mouth for a few years. Years. And carnival promoters wanted to buy the bodies to use it as a sideshow themselves. But the Undertaker was like,
I have principles.
Because I'm making money.
Okay.
But then 1915 comes. two guys show up and they say Elmer Mccurdy was their brother. They took the body to give him a decent burial on the family plot. Or that's what they said, but they were actually just James Patterson and his brother. And James was the owner and manager of Patterson Carnival shows. Just wanted the body as a sideshow. So they set up shop in Texas, calling it the same thing. The Bandit Who Wouldn't Give Up. And word got back to Pawhuska, Oklahoma, and it was known that Elmer Mccurdy's body was being displayed at a carnival in Texas. At this point, 4 years after his death. So, Elmer's body was toured around with James Patterson's carnival thing until 1922, when he sold it to Louis Sonny. And Louis Sonny had a wax museum sideshow called the Museum of Crime. And he had wax figures of famous outlaws like Jesse James. But now he had a real dead outlaw, which was so exciting. So yeah. Louis Sonny, so his wife, Dorothy, is quoted about Elmer's body. She said, he had shriveled up so much and he was so tiny. He looked like an 8-year-old child. And Elmer's body, so he got the body, right, in 1922. And Elmer's body stayed in this sideshow until 1971.
Wow.
That's 49 years.
That's insane.
It's also a little disappointing because I was hoping to go see this if he was in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Elmer's body, at that point, in 1971, he sold to the LA Wax Museum. I don't know why these fucking wax museums think, like, well, it's kind of like wax, it's a corpse. It's like, what?
He's got a waxy complexion.
Yeah, I mean, I get it because it's a body and they're displaying bodies, but they're not displaying real bodies, so I don't get it that much. That very quickly didn't work out for whatever reason, and they sold Elmer's body to Ed Learsh. And he and his partner rented out a space on Long Beach Pike in California, and they had their own wax museum. Elmer Mccurdy's coffin at this point had completely fallen apart, and he was in a cardboard box. At their show, Elmer's body was displayed as the 1,000-year-old man.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. 5 years later, Elmer was reduced to basically just hanging from a rope by his neck in a funhouse called The Laugh After Dark. As just like a prop that's just around. His
legacy, it started out like all right, you like took away his dignity, and then it's like you took his dignity and then you like rammed it up his butt, and like, jeez.
Yeah. And he's not into that.
He is not. He's into blowing up safes. They should have just like exploded his body. That's what he loved doing.
Right?
Yeah, he loved it.
Send him off the way he lived.
Yeah. Go out with a bang.
I mean, what should have happened was after he got all those nickels inside him, then they blow up the body because it's like opening a safe.
His body's a safe door.
Yeah.
They could melt all the nickels.
So yeah. people are walking through just seeing a hanging dude, but they're not thinking that it's an actual
Of course
corpse
not.
at this point, because it's not like a display where it's just like, this is the bandit who had died.
No, he's not
100
even like
years
getting any
ago," or
credits.
whatever.
He's just like, this is a prop. This is a decoration.
It's just there.
People are like, that doesn't even look realistic.
Well, I mean, when you were
You know,
talking
people
about, like,
complain about that.
he was originally like shown off as the bandit who wouldn't quit, right? And then he then becomes the 1,000-year-old man, because at that point bandits and outlaws were out of style.
Yeah, like
now he's just a hanging piñata, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was a real body. So,
Yeah.
December 7th, 1976. The Laugh After Dark, which is what this funhouse was called, was closed because the $6 Million Man, which was a TV show, was shooting there for an episode. And the crew that came there before, like, to set up the scene, the set or whatever, had initially thought that this was some papier-mâché mannequin that
Of
was hanging.
course. You don't assume that
them-
it's a real person? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. One of them moved the arm of Elmer Mccurdy, and it fell off. And they noticed a human bone sticking out of the arm. So, after that, they called the authorities, because that makes sense. Bodies handed over. Eventually, the authorities identify the body as Elmer Mccurdy. But yet again, at this point, nobody came to claim Elmer's body. This time, makes a little more sense. So, after a while, though, a group called the Indian Territory Posse of Oklahoma Westerners, real catchy name, guys, claimed him, offered to pay for the burial. He was brought back from L.A. to Oklahoma, where he was buried in the same section of Guthrie's Summit View Cemetery as famous Oklahoman outlaws. So, like, they're famous Western baddies from Oklahoma, and he's buried alongside those. The hearse, all other things that would have been automobiles in the procession or whatever, were all horse-drawn buggies instead of cars. The coffin was lowered into the grave, and then 6 feet of cement was poured over it before the grave was closed. He was shot to death, and now 66 years later, he would finally rest in peace and not have someone rob his grave because he was such a popular corpse.
Jeez.
And that is the story of Elmer Mccurdy.
When you ask what people's body, like how you think that your body should be handled, like, I thought maybe it's like, all right, well, they just kind of like disregarded it, or just like left it to rot, or threw it out. Not that I could.
I don't think I could have predicted anything that happened after his initial death to that degree.
That story, it literally sounds like a kid was telling the story, and like it just got weirder and weirder, and they just kept taking it like. But it's real. Like it seems like something just like over the top, you know, like the SNL. What's the lady who like tries to top every story? Kristen Wiig's character. Like that. It sounds like that. Like it just like gets more bizarre. Like,
yeah.
It started out like wow, what a strange tale, and then it's like, this is what? How did this happen? How did?
Yeah, it's pretty wild that it's just like it's just like, I don't know. Back then, maybe you know, people, I've said it before, people get a pass in the past, right?
Yeah.
But when you're getting into like the 70s,
And like we should.
Like-
Do you think we should set this right? Nah.
It's
We can
pretty-
make money.
Pretty crazy.
So with the whole embalming with the arsenic, like that prevented any kind of smell or anything? Because I would think after 49 years, I think you said,
Yeah.
that there would be at least some kind of stench coming from that antiquity at that point.
Yeah.
It must have, at least for some, to some degree, right? Because if you had a body that smelled like a dead body,
Yeah. Someone would.
you couldn't keep it around.
Or if you put it in the wax museum, be like, oh, it even smells realistic. You're like, yeah, we created our own potpourri to make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe
but-
that the actual end of that story is that the moment they laid the concrete down, it then blew up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought the guy was going to
And
come
then
back
the
to
credits
life.
rolled.
And you're like, he tied up his arteries and put an arsenic. Like, was this like, what if it's like accelerated his heart or something? I don't know.
Then he really would be the bandit that wouldn't die.
Yeah. And this was our first zombie.
Yeah.
Now, there's a song, an old country song called Prop Me Up Beside the Jukebox When I Die, which, I mean, yeah, maybe that's what we should do.
No.
People are talking about like overcrowding and overcrowding in cities and population increases, but like let's just never bury anybody and just keep them around and just let the world fill up.
Are you actively like saying that we should taxidermy our relatives?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I think we should do.
Hard pass on that one.
I think I'll start with that. I'm gonna like arrange my own will and have myself mailed to my kids in the future, and they're just gonna open it up and be like, like I want to,
And it'll be like shitty
Yeah.
taxidermy, just like huge stitches
like
all over it.
I could dance with my daughter at her wedding, just bring my
Right?
roll
Just
my
make
corpse
that
out.
that dancing pose before the rigor mortis sets in.
You could
Yeah.
put like the wire, like the they have those little like wire wooden like dummies that like they use for artists
Marionettes.
to like you know what I'm saying,
Oh,
so they can
yes,
like
I know what you're
accurately
talking about.
see how bodies move.
Draw
yeah,
the
yeah.
form of a
They
body.
just put those just in my body. I mean, you just need like my bone structure in my skin. You don't need anything else. So you can just like wrap the wires around my bones, and then that way you can just move me as you have to treat the skin. But
Hear that, serial killers? No.
target me next. No. This is
Uh,
that was a good one. That was a real
Thank
good
you.
one.
The other random fact about this is that you can actually see Elmer Mccurdy's body in a 1967 movie called She Freak. It's in like a carnival scene.
Is the movie any good?
I don't know.
All right.
All right, watch party. Let's go.
Yeah.
It could very well be a punishment.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's bad.
I mean, I'm sure it's not great. But anyway, so we have arrived to the point in the podcast where CwissyG decides who is the victor of the strangest story in the gosh dang this particular podcast, not in the world.
I'm sure there are stranger stories out there. I just want to preface this, that's the word I'm looking for, by saying before we started recording, I had mentioned that on multiple previous episodes that I listened to, I had picked Mystic.
Yeah.
And you took offense to that, Broomy.
Really alienated Broomy from this. He really regretted
Yeah.
the choice to have you on. He was DMing me the whole time, like, "Can you believe this guy? Like, just get him out of here." And
Yeah, how does this guy like
yeah,
you?
yeah,
is
he's
what
like,
I sent to
you're the worst. I cannot believe that you have a fan. They're just-
Yeah.
that anybody likes anything coming out of your mouth because you were just full of it. Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that Broomy sends me.
That being said, on the one episode when your number one fan is the judge, and I have to disagree with you and say that Broomy definitely brought it this time. I have to go with Broomy. Your story was very, like, in my view, it wasn't so much weird as it was, you know, I mean, it's definitely heartwarming.
Right.
You know, the fact they were able to bring the little girl back and how they did it was, like, miraculous. But I think a story about a criminal bank robber who consistently blows up the money and leaves with less than what he went in there with, and then becomes a macabre antiquity after his death.
That was a double whammy.
Yeah, he blew you out of the water this one. I gotta go with Broomy.
Good pun there. blew the safe door off to the other safe door. No, I agree. I agree.
There's a train wall. Invited back anytime because the victory reigns on high on this one.
I agree. I would vote for Broomy as well. That was a great story, and I will say I've noticed a trend in the podcast. People talk about dead bodies being preserved past their use or past, like, they typically do well. So just saying.
Yeah, no, I remember when I was researching this story, I'm like, this is like a mystic story.
You know, I'm all about dead bodies and poop. Those are my two favorite topics.
It's like very like.
I would have probably not even included the bank robbery stuff. I would have been like just talking about him being dead. No, but that was that was
he built
good.
Up the story so well.
Did.
Like
because like
you become attached
to
this character.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to like make this a real person in your mind,
so we could be outraged at the treatment of the death.
That's the thing. When he like after he died, and the fact that he asked us how we would want our bodies treated, that's what brought us in. That's what was like.
It was emotionally manipulative.
You have a connection to it. You have a connection to the story.
I was imagining me this whole time, like, they gonna hang me by my neck? What?
Yeah. Also, by the way, at that point, he was painted head to toe in glow in the dark paint,
and
you left that out.
Yeah,
he's like, I don't want to rub it in,
you know. Down, I guess.
He's like, I'm clearly could tone it back and win this one. So.
Yeah. I didn't want to go too far, but anyway,
that was a good one.
I mean, this has been a great one. I'm glad you. Yeah,
thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Back.
Yeah, I definitely would love to be back. Yeah, Mystic, you better bring it next time.
Yeah, I will. I won't let you down.
I won't let you down.
What's your Venmo also, real quick? Completely unrelated to the ruling.
Just DM me after the podcast. Just DM me.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to promote, Quissy?
You guys can check me out at twitch.tv/QwissyG. I don't have like a set schedule right now because I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things. But I do usually stream on Friday night and Saturday night. If you guys want to come by, hang out, leave a follow, maybe sub.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. He's funny human. Playing a lot of Fall Guys and first-person shooters.
Oh, that's what we can put in the time capsule. Copy of Fall Guys.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that was a cultural event. So, that's our episode this week, and we will see you on the next one.